Say, man, you see my crab cakes? Till I'm all alone. If you see my crab cakes, tell her things went wrong. Don't call on the phone and bring a black draw home. A little tartar too. Come on, little girl, tell me what you want to do. Them Maryland crab cakes are the best in town. Them Maryland crab cakes are the best in town. So come on, baby, let's get Louisiana down. If you see my crab cake, have you seen my crab cake? If you see my crab cake, tell I'm all alone. Tell her I still love her, and when she comes back home.
Now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. Across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we'll come to you live from the Billy C. Studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for Talking Boxing with Billy C. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're listening. Hope you're doing all right. Listening, watching, playing. Busy weekend, good weekend in boxing. We got a good one coming up. People say boxing's dead. I don't know. Don't forget this show is being brought to you in part by Cat's Nationwide Luxury Transportation Service. If you're looking for a limo and you're located someplace in the United States, then you need to give my girl Cat a call, 202-351-7496. That's 202-351-7496. And don't forget, Cat's Nationwide Luxury Transportation Cat's Nationwide Luxury Transportation Service is the official limo service of this year's Billy C. Boxing Hall of Fame weekend, scheduled for November 16th, 17th, and 18th. Make your plans now. Get yourself some tickets. Don't be waiting until the last minute. I'm telling you. Check out the website, www.billycboxing.com. Click one of the Billy C. Boxing Hall of Fame banners and make your plans now. As a matter of fact, we're going to have the new schedule up. This week's a short week. We got a programming note coming up in a minute, but we're hoping to have the whole schedule of all the events and stuff up there this week or early next. So make sure you check that out. This year we got 3 separate days. You can get a pass to the whole event, all 3 days, or you can single out each day. So check that out, www.billycboxing.com. Give my girl Kat a call, 202-351-7496. Just remember, she's my girl. Also, this show is being brought to you in part by Camp Aaron Tomkovich. That's right. If you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep me out of trouble. That's Camp and Aaron Tomkovich. Give him a call, 845-221-4099. 845-221-4099. Tell him that Billy C sent you, and tell him that Billy C said that I'm going to pick up the consultation fee. That's right, 845-221-4099. And, of course, my friends over at the Halftime Bar and Grill, Route 9, South Glens Falls. Give them a call ahead if you want to make a reservation for some of their fantastic food. You can always walk in and get a table, but you may want to call ahead. 518-792-4869. That's 792-4869. And speaking of Halftime Bar and Grill, this week we're going to be doing a special Friday Night Fights at the halftime. We want you to come on up, man. So if you're in the Lake George or Glens Falls or Saratoga areas, come on up to the Halftime Bar and Grill, Route 9, South Glens Falls. If not, if you're from out of town, maybe an hour away, a couple hours away, whatever, make your plans, man. Come on up for Friday Night Fights. Get yourself a hotel room. If you need some information on that, drop us an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing. We're going to be giving tickets away to the Kareem Mayfield and Raymond Serrano fight, which is going to be May 18th. It's going to be taking place at the Albany Times-Union. It will be an ESPN Friday Night Fight night. It's going to be live on Friday Night Fights, and we want to give you tickets. So we're going to have ticket giveaways, we're going to have raffles, we're going to have prizes, we're going to have all that stuff this Friday at the Halftime Bar and Grill, so make sure you show up. 518-792-4869 if you need some more information. And after us, there's going to be a band there. So a lot of stuff going on Friday night at the Halftime Bar and Grill, so make sure you come on up there for that. As promised, I just want to give you a little programming note. We will not be doing a live show this Wednesday. We will not be doing a live show this Wednesday. We have a change in schedule. All the radio affiliates and the TV people will all have their version of the show, but there will not be a new podcast on Wednesday. So we'll be here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So you'll be missing Wednesday, all right? Speaking of Wednesday, Alex Papali, who normally does his Blast from the Past on Wednesday, we're going to do that next week, but Alex himself will be here today. Alex is going to show up today. So next week we'll do the Blast, which is on Tiger Flowers. We'll get to the feature fighter, which is Dwight Muhammad Quai. The heavyweight spotlight, next time we do that with Tony Treem, is going to be Primo Carnera. We're also going to be doing some special stuff with Tony, so stay tuned for that. The next greatest fight series we're going to be doing is Rocky Marciano against Jersey Joe Walcott. Took place September 23rd, 1952. Scheduled guest this week. I've been telling you about him last week. He's a prospect out of Canada, Tibor Broch. Now, he's fought at welterweight division, but he's looking to go down in weight, actually, possibly as low as lightweight. Can't wait to get him on. He's a real breath of fresh air. But we also have another special guest scheduled to join us this week. Now, one of the criteria for the show is to get on this show is that it's about boxing. It's all about boxing. I mean, this show is based on opinions, and it's all about boxing. So the backdrop is boxing. You got the gist, right? Well, joining us this week, you probably know her as a reality TV star. I don't watch reality TV, so honestly, I don't know her as that. But everyone knows her, and she's actually from an area where I used to have a gym. And she's now a boxing promoter, so that's why we got her on. She's doing a show in Poughkeepsie, New York, and we're going to have Snooki on this show. That's right, Snooki. The Snooki will be on this show this week. So we're looking forward to talking boxing with Snooki, so stay tuned for that. Also coming up later on the week, we got we got the breakdowns. I got my man Marty Mulcahy coming on Friday. We got Dax Khan coming in on Thursday. So we got a busy week. Don't forget about Friday. Make your plans to come on up to the Halftime Bar and Grill. Also, I want to remind everybody about the new Billy C. Boxing poll question. It's a blowout, man. We're talking about Dawson-Hopkins now. He's going to be fighting this weekend. And the poll question says, is he still worth the price of admission? Not even a pay-per-view. Is he worth the price of admission? And overwhelming 100% of the people that have voted has said no. He is not worth the price of admission, and no, that they don't even want to see him anymore. And you know, it backs up what I was saying, that B-Hop can't draw flies at a garbage convention, okay? Contrary to what they try to make us believe. And Bernard tries to believe it in his own mind, that people actually care about him, which is a fallacy, as based on you guys, on the votes. So if you disagree with that vote, if you disagree with the fact that he's still not, that he can't draw, go cast your vote right now on BillyCBoxing.com. Also, don't forget about Billy C. Bucks. If you're going to a live event, you got the tickets anyway, so you might as well cash them in for Billy C. Bucks. Also, keep the mailbags coming. And as far as the Billy C. Challenge, if you're interested in participating in that, we're changing some stuff around. You got to email me this week, because we're kicking off the new one. And we need everyone that wants to be involved with that. So drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. Listen, we've been doing the mailbags every single day, and we've been getting a lot of emails from most of you guys, just sick and tired of the same old BS about Floyd Mayweather. And I can't agree with you more. So what we're going to try to do is, and I want to give everybody their time, so what we're going to try to do is at least read the comments, but I'm not going to get into responding, because you guys have heard my opinions already. And we will discuss Floyd and Miguel Cotto next week as we get ready for their showdown on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. And speaking of showdowns, we got a new segment here, and it's actually not a segment on this show. We're going to be doing another show every day now. It's called Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down. It's going to run between 5 and maybe 10, 15 minutes a day. And I'm going to give a rundown of what I think is a thumbs up for boxing or a thumbs down for boxing. We're going to have both thumbs up and thumbs down every day. It's going to take place live right after this show, moments after this show. We're going to do it, and it's going to be available on BillyCBoxing.com. It'll be available up on YouTube. I don't think I'm going to do a podcast of it, but we'll have to wait and see. If that's going to affect my premium podcast subscribers, I'll probably do it, but there's just going to be so many other places you can get it. There's no sense taking up the space up there. But anyway, it's called Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down, so make sure you check that out today. We're going to kick it off. So I'm excited about that. And it just came to me. But let's kick off the mailbags. I got a mailbag here from Brandon. Brandondonian 3030 says, hey, Billy, just curious, when will Irvin, Billy the Kid Irwin, be on the show? Brandon, he was on the show already, man. You missed it. You got to go up to BillyCBoxing.com, and under the Hot Interviews section, you can play the interview, or you can go back and play that whole show under YouTube. So, Brandon, the interview's up there. It's on BillyCBoxing.com, as is all the interviews. Once we get a guest on this show, as soon as we have him on or her on, we put that interview up on BillyCBoxing.com under the Hot Interviews section. So make sure you check that out in the future. Mailbag from LIOGM, whatever that is, says Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. They're making fun of the way I say it. He says, stop. Well, I'm going to change the wording here. He says, stop crapping in your pants and fight Martinez, you effing sissy. Okay. Thank you, sir. From a guy named, or gal named Rockstar57 says, referring to me, I guess, this guy's dumb. It's not Mayweather's fault that he makes every boxer look crappy. Okay. That's a matter of opinion. It's, he makes every boxer look crappy because maybe he's fighting some crappy boxers. From DN Talk to Me says, this guy's the dumbest boxing fan ever, meaning me. He thought Oscar versus Floyd was close. WTF. Well, I guess if you look at the way the judges saw it, it was a split decision win. So whenever you see a majority decision or a split decision, or even a unanimous decision where the scores are about a point apart, I would classify that as being close. So maybe I'm dumb. TW Rules says, I will never forget Mayweather versus... And all right, man, you wrote it, so I'm going to say it. He says, I will never forget Mayweather versus Emmanuel Stewart, I think his name is. And another one is when he bloody destroyed Gotti. Well, first of all, Manny Stewart, obviously you're mistaken. Manny Stewart's a trainer. He never fought him. And he says he'll never forget the fight against Gotti. Okay, good for you. One other thing, I'm going to take a break. This guy, AKOL Elto 999999 says, of course, everyone knows how boring Floyd fights. He wants it easy, waiting for the other one to get tired, and when there's no danger on its way, then he attacks. Boring. Easy to forget his fights. Yeah, well, that was a comment I made, but I'm not going to elaborate. I've talked a lot about it. I'm going to take a break. When I come back, we'll finish up the mailbags.
If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Rosselli Enterprises. Rosselli Enterprises is trucking at its finest. They have it all. Dump trucks, dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flowboys, tankers, loaders, and a full line of roll-off containers for any job, big or small. Rosselli Enterprises is also the source for all your sand, gravel, and topsoil needs. Visit them on the web at RosselliTrucking.com or call 315-433-5115. That's 315-433-5115 and tell them Billy C sent you.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the #1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the ideal computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the number 15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IBO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the number 15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at IBOboxing.com.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day, everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase coming soon to a theater near you.
And we're back. You are listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C radio show. Check out the website, www.billycboxing.com. Cast your vote with our latest poll question right now. B-Hop, if you like B-Hop, which apparently none of you do, thank God. I've about had it with this guy. The world is waiting for Chad Dawson to just shine, knock this guy out. you disagree, go cast your vote. So far, you'll be the first, because 100% of you are saying that B-Hop's not worth the price of a ticket, let alone a pay-per-view. So go check it out, man. Cast your vote, www.billycboxing.com. Also, look for our new little mini show. And if you're listening live right now, hang around, because right after this show is over, we're going to be introducing a new mini show. It's going to go from 5 minutes to 15 minutes a day, maybe, at the most. It's called Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down. We're going to do a daily good and bad thing for the sport of boxing. So what I think, in my opinion, what I think is thumbs up and thumbs down. So we got some from this past weekend that we're going to talk about later. So new segment / show / whatever. And we're going to be putting that up on BillyCBoxing.com on a daily basis. So make sure you look for that. It'll be one of those menu options on the right. It'll say thumbs up, thumbs down. And it'll be up there every day. So make sure you check that one out. All right, we're doing the mailbags like we do every day. And this is from Bronner Beast. Bronner, whatever. Guess what this is about? Floyd was overweight against Juan Manuel Marquez, but he humiliated him so bad that it gave the impression that no matter what weight, Floyd would still be far too good for him. Floyd was 150 pounds, not 160 heavy. Floyd was 150 pounds, not 16 pounds heavier. He can't make 1 pound over 150. Well, I guess he's going to be making about 4 pounds over 150 next week, but that's besides the point, Beast. And as far as Ortiz, I would hate to see a multi-mega fight end in a DQ. Floyd took the situation and made it very memorable. KO of the year. And as far as Floyd being great, I do not think he's the greatest of all time, but I do think he's the best skill-wise of all time. He goes on to say Floyd complained. These are all responses to shows. Floyd complained about his shoulder from the second round on in that fight. He didn't throw any punches the entire fight. Why do you think he outclassed him in the rematch? Floyd ain't one to make excuses because he's too talented, blah, blah, blah. Still lying about the Ortiz KO. Talking about me. A punk move would have been what Manny did to Mosley. Hugged and kissed him like best buddies the whole fight. Floyd doesn't play that game. He's a killer. Come on. He's a killer. Yeah, I know. He handles Ortiz like a true ruthless killer. Yeah. I hope Floyd does it again so he can beat it into people's head what boxing's all about. You're supposed to sucker punch your opponent if they give you a chance. There are no exceptions for being a ruthless animal. No comment to you, Braun or Beast, man. But I tell you what, my man George has got the best. This is the antidote for all the Mayweather fans. Now, the reason why I'm reading this is because this is how we all feel. All right. And George puts it perfectly, and I thank him for being honest. He says, oh, my God, enough with the Floyd Mayweather talk. And then he goes on to say, as you know, I've been a Mayweather fan for a long, long time, and I've defended him when you used to talk bad about him. But your show went from Mayweather hate to he's saying, nut-hugging fans defended him every single comment about Floyd. There's a difference between a boxing fan and a blind, casual Floyd Mayweather fan, which is so true, George. You couldn't have put it better. He says, let me be clear. I love Floyd Mayweather, the boxer, in the ring, and I think he's one of the most dominant boxers I have ever seen. But I will ask to please limit the Floyd talk to anything having to do with the Cotto fight, which we've already agreed on, George, if you listen to last week's shows. He says, now here's my thoughts on various Floyd topics. Once again, everyone says stop talking about Floyd, but even my man George comes up with some stuff, but he wants to put some things to rest, and that's why I'm giving him his due. He says, is he the greatest? No way. So this is coming from a Floyd fan. Is he exciting? He has been, and he says to look at the Gotti and Corrales fights, but he's entertaining as a boxing fan. You have to appreciate his dominant style. I can agree with that if he's up against a quality fighter. If he's not, then, hey, come on. Was the fight with Oscar close? Yes. I blame Floyd for making it that close. That being said, Oscar had all the advantages, weights, gloves, ring, etc., and still couldn't win. Was the KO of Ortiz impressive? Yes, but not the way I wanted to see the fight end. But I blame Ortiz for starting the dirty tactics and Floyd ending it, which is exactly how I feel. He says, one of your, all right, I'll say it, man. He says, given quality, the listener that gives us, is the reason people hate Floyd. He's more than a fan. He's a nut hugger. Does he think that it's part of the money team? Does he think he's part of the money team? Tell the kid there is boxing outside of Floyd. He should watch some. I will defend my man, given quality. He does watch other fighters. There's no question about that one. And I'll tell you, George, you hit it right on the head. We all feel the same way. Given quality has come up with some other stuff, but he does go overboard with Floyd. So that's as far as I'm going to go with that. My man Hawk says, I agree. Floyd and B-Hop are the two that most need to be knocked out. B-Hop has accidentally had a few exciting fights. I like the way you put that. B-Hop has accidentally had a few fighting fights. Hey, every time I think of Bernard Hopkins, I think of Jean Pascal's impression of Bernard Hopkins. Remember when he was like pretending how when Bernard Hopkins fought, just wailing away. See, that's what I mean. Everybody says he's so great, but I never liked him. Even in his prime, man, he was boring, and he just, he's always shooting off his mouth, and it's just like, it's like that relative just never wants to leave your house, I mean, it's terrible. He says he had a few exceptions, but the most part is he's a smack-talking, boring boxer, which I agree, Hawk. And when B-Hop and Jones were both at the top and the fans were begging for that rematch, they both ducked each other like two clowns. When they finally fought, Jones was already shot, and nobody cares about that. Nobody cared about that fight. B-Flop, which I love that too, talks too much and makes too many excuses. The same goes for Floyd. Agree with all of that, Hawker. Great email there. He goes on to say, Spinks had what flaring up? He's referring to the interview that we had with Corey Spinks. He says he sounds a bit punchy, but I guess he always sounded like that. Anyway, the rematch should be good. I'm going with Kanon, but who knows? Kanon's 38, and strange that Pac is always accused of using roids. Hell, Kanon looks like a roid monster to me, and Bradley looks like one too, especially since he's a vegan. Bradley is the only ripped vegan I know. I'm not accusing them of anything, though. Both guys are coming off 12-round wins over Shupal. Sounds cool to me. Shupal was an overrated fighter. What Spinks has is Crohn's disease, and Crohn's disease is it affects the digestive system, and when they flare up, man, it's like you got to be a couple of feet from a bathroom, and it's very you can't train. It's very hard to function. And that's what Corey was saying during our interview, that in that fight when he lost to Kanon Bunjards, he had a incident of Crohn's kicking up, and he's not making excuses. He never mentioned it after the fight. And when I say excuses, getting back to that Floyd thing, when you say, I'm not going to make any excuses, but guess what's coming, an excuse. I think the best example that we learned years later, really, at least I learned years later, it never came out in any post-fight conferences or anything like that, but Tommy Hearns showed the class that he has when after the fight, that the three greatest rounds of boxing I ever witnessed live was Tommy Hearns against Marvelous Marvin Hagler. And I didn't hear about it until about a year and a half later, but Tommy Hearns had broken his hand in that fight and never said anything about it in the post-fight conferences or anything. Did not want to take anything away from Hagler's win. That is not making excuses, and I got to give him all the credit in the world. And finally, from actually, I got a couple more here. From my man Tim, Tim from Iowa. I think he's from Iowa. He says, dude, I have those dreams too. I try to punch a dude out, and it's like my arms are jelly, and they have do no damage. He says, LOL, I thought I was the only one. Thought I had to go to a shrink and ask what it meant. At least I'm not alone. I've been having them since I was in high school, and now I'm 40. WTF. Well, at least you know this, Timmy. You're as normal as I am. You're as normal as I am. So I don't know. Take that for what it's worth. I got two more here. Hey, Bill, this is from Gavin. He says, hey, Bill, I just heard Gary Skykes has gotten a shot against Adrian Bronner's WBO crown. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. That's a disgrace of a match. He's lost two fights recently against Gary Buckland, who is far more worthy an opponent, or even Anthony Crolla, who is in great form. Not anymore. He lost this weekend. We're going to talk about that in a second. Skykes won't last 5 rounds. Also, the interim WBA super middleweight champ Brian McGee has got a shot at the winner of Sardison and Karole Balze. Well, that's Balze. We'll be talking about that in a bit. For the regular WBA super middleweight title, it's well-deserved. Brian's very underrated, and he's only been beaten by the best, Froch, Robin Reed, and Butte, along with getting robbed in Germany against, I can't even say the guy's name, but anyway. Good points, Gavin, and I agree with you on the Skykes thing. I'm surprised that the WBO, who's trying to step up their I guess, being strict, their strictness. They're trying to step up their strictness with who fights for their titles. And finally, this is from my man Andre. Now, Andre developed the shell of BillyCBoxing.com, so this guy's real important to me. He wants to know what's happened to the Billy C Challenge. Andre, you got to listen, man. You got to email me, Billy@TalkingBoxing.com, and that will get you signed up. We're going to be doing it. He says he was doing so well. Yeah, I know. He says, I also want to comment on something. I want to protect Vlad a little. You say every time you get a chance that he should not be he wrote should be a pound for pound, but I think he meant that he should not be a pound for pound, because that's what I say. Because if you shrink him into a middleweight, he will not be as effective with his jab and the right hand, and he will not be as elusive. Hold that thought. I got to take a break. I love this mailbag, and I'm going to give you my response and the rest of it in a sec.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretch of that man, I would think.
You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From upstate New York in the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
My fellow Americans, good evening. Welcome back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. It's great to be here discussing the sweet science with everybody. I love boxing. I love talking boxing. That's what I do.
Bill.
Wait, what?
Bill.
Why are you interrupting me? Wait, what?
Wrong.
What's
wrong,
the problem?
Billy
What?
C.
I did not have...
We're gonna have to ask you.
Wrong speech.
Leave.
What do you mean wrong, Billy C? What's going on here? Fine, I'll go. I just wanted to talk some boxing on TPSradio.net. That's all I wanted to do. I don't need your damn show. I'll get my own talking wrestling with the other Billy C. Yeah, that sounds good. I've always been a Hulkamaniac anyway.
Broadcasting live, brother. Welcome back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. on the mighty TPSradio.net, brother. What you gonna do, brother?
And we're back. You are listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C. a radio show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. I want to welcome the Fight Now audience just joining us. And if you don't have Fight Now on your sports channel lineup, it's time, man. It's time for you to call your local television provider. I don't care if it's cable or satellite. Give them a call and tell them that you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup so you can get the show on your TV set, man. I mean, you can DVR it and all that stuff, man. So call your local television provider right now and tell them you want Fight Now. And you can get all the information about the Fight Now channel by visiting their website, www.fightnow.com. We're on our last email, so we're reading one about, this is from my man Andre. He goes on to say, and what he said was, he wants to protect Vlad a little. You say every time you get a chance that he shouldn't be a pound for pound because if you shrink him down to, say, a middleweight, he will not be effective with his jab and his right hand, and he will not be elusive enough. Well, my answer to that is if he were a middleweight, he would have to be more elusive and use uppercuts and inside fighting. But as a heavyweight, he's exciting. He is exciting a plan. No. He meant to say he's executing a plan according to what is in front of him. I think my Ukrainian boy is up there with the all-time greats. He used to be a lot more exciting. I saw his early fights when he would get knocked down and get up and get mad and then knocks the guy out. Just like you and many Americans, I hate to see him doing enough to win. Do you see that Vitali is mad then that he did not knock David Golden Toe out? Vlad maybe be doing the best thing for him, though. You guys got to check, man. When you're typing, I'm trying to decipher what he's saying. You guys got to proofread, man. Come on, Andre. Andre's an intelligent guy, man. He's a programmer, for gosh sakes, and he's sitting there typing so fast. He reminds me of getting an email from my man Dax. Every time Dax emails me, I have to read this stuff. Come on, what have you been hanging around with my man Dax? Jeez. He says, you've been doing the best thing for him, though, just like Floyd, making money, winning fights, keeping belts, and keeping his brains intact. Well, number one, that is a smart thing, like Floyd, to make as much money as you can, keeping the W's coming, keep your belts if you care about it, but most importantly, keeping your brains intact. I'm never going to knock a fighter for that, except Floyd. As far as the exciting, first of all-time great, we are going to have to put him in that category at some point because of his dominance. So, I can't argue with that. But my point is that, to answer your answer, you say that if he was a middleweight, he would have to be more elusive and use his uppercuts and inside fighting. But as a heavyweight, he just executes his plan and does what's in front of him. Have you ever seen him use uppercuts and inside fighting and have great movement? You just hit my point, Andre. No. The answer is no. I've never seen him throw uppercuts. I've never seen Vlad be an elusive fighter. Honestly, neither Klitschko have demonstrated much of a defense. They pull their head back, and that's it. This is my point. You answered exactly what I would say. And that's my point about them as pound for pound. As far as the pound for pound, in my opinion, pound for pound means that if you put a fighter at any weight class and you give him the same skill set that he has at his current weight class or she has at her current weight class, then they would be just as dominant. When the pound for pound imaginary category was invented, it was invented because of Sugar Ray Robinson. And at the time, the heavyweight division was the ruling division. And when kids would say, when they would get in a fight on the playground or whatever, they'd have their, whatever they would do, or if anybody wanted their status or whatever, it would always be, and the heavyweight champion of the world. The heavyweight champion of the world had the juice, man. It was the thing to be. And, the people in boxing didn't want to take anything away from Sugar Ray Robinson, so they made this pound-for-pound category. Now, obviously, 40, 50 years later, where we are now, the heavyweight division doesn't carry as much luster as it used to back in the day. And yet we still have the pound-for-pound category, which I don't have a problem with. But a heavyweight, in my opinion, shouldn't be in a pound-for-pound. Because unless it's a heavyweight like Tomasz Adamek, only for the simple reason that he started out as a light heavyweight. My point about the Klitschkos has been exactly what Andre says here. Vlad has a great jab. Vitaly has a great chin. Vitaly actually throws a lot of punches, but his hands are down. He fights like and I only say this style-wise, but, he fights with his hands down like Floyd. But I'm convinced that if you took the size advantage away from Vlad, because remember, he's generally a half a foot taller than everybody that he fights, take that away and put him at another weight class, because I don't know if he would have that height advantage at other weight classes, but even if he did, I don't think that just a jab and with a right hand cocked the way he fights at heavyweight would be as effective in the lower weight classes. I just don't. And as far as saying, oh, well, then he'll use his uppercut, then he'll use his agility and all of this stuff if he's smaller. My point is he hasn't demonstrated that he has any of that. And if your opinion is well, he doesn't have to, well, then how do we know he possesses that? With some of these other lower weight class guys, we see that they possess power. We're going to talk about Abner Mares. Abner Mares had a fantastic fight this past weekend, and he showed that he can stand in there. He can go toe-to-toe. He showed that he had some movement. He showed that he had a little jab. He shows that, he can take a shot. I mean, could you imagine Abner Mares at Klitschko's size with the same skill set that Abner Mares has? Or how about Marino? Emilio Marino. Could you imagine him with his defensive and counterpunching ability and his hand speed? Could you imagine him at Klitschko's size with the same exact talent? That's my point. When you look at their whole skill set, and that's what I mean, their skill set, what they're known for now, and you flip-flop them and move them in different weight divisions, and they still can perform at the top, that's a pound-for-pound fighter. I'm just not sure that either Klitschko brother could be a pound-for-pound fighter if you take away their size. That's it. That's my point. But all great emails. Keep them coming. You guys know I love them. Now, speaking of fights, we got some fights that took place this past weekend, and it was actually a pretty good weekend of boxing, in my opinion. And something, I can't stand, you guys know that there's times I'm a little negative. Okay, I'm a little negative at times, but the truth of the matter is that even though boxing has got its problems, we got too many sanctioning bodies. We have champions that don't defend their belts. We got all of the things that we know. We got fighters that come in out of nowhere, become ranked fighters. We got other fighters that should be ranked that aren't ranked. I mean, there's a lot of problems. We got, terrible promoters. We got so many wannabes in this business. It's terrible. It's ruining the sport. Everybody comes in. I know these new promoters, I won't mention any names, but they're from Florida. And they act like they're... this is a big fantasy game, the sport of boxing, and it's just you're not going to reinvent the wheel and paint it a different color and try and sell it as a table, it's just not going to happen, so There's procedures to follow if you want to be successful, and then there's, all the wannabes, and you follow them, and you're going to sink in the toilet. My point is that with all of that, boxing's not that bad. I mean, you can argue, and I dare I mention his name, but Floyd Mayweather, I'm not a big Floyd fan. You guys know I can't stand the guy. But you know what? He's a talented fighter. And as much as I want to give him credit for that, I won't ever say that he's the best of all time, because he's certainly not, in my opinion. But he's a talented fighter, and so are most fighters that come out today. Now, when we compare them to eras gone by, eras of yesteryear, it's easy to say that the boxer today, based on nutrition and training technique and all of these things that we know that we've improved as human beings because of the world has improved, in a sense, the boxers and all athletes are better today than they used to be. When we have these dream matchups and stuff, some people don't even like to do it, but when we can do these dream matchups, you have to put in perspective how they dominated in their era and try to make an educated guess of how they would do today. But truthfully, experts in the business like Tony Treem and I have discussed this, and he's like, it's impossible to do it. You can't unless you have a time machine. Marty Mulcahy says the same thing. Unless you have a time machine and you can go back, you can't do it. And it's not fair to put guys like Floyd Mayweather against Sugar Ray Robinson. It's not fair. We do it as fun. But it's really not fair. And speaking of Tony, Tony T just popped in the chat room, which seems to be empty today. All the other live listeners that I see all on these other feeds we got, you should go into the Billy C Boxing chat room and chat in there. And speaking of all the other feeds, if you're watching or listening live, hang around, because we're going to be introducing a new segment, which is actually going to be its own little show, kind of. It's going to take. We're going to be doing it daily. It's called Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down, and what it is it's going to be. It's going to vary in length, anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes in length. And I'm going to give a thumbs up for all the good things that happened in that day, the previous day in boxing, and a thumbs down for all the bad things. So we're going to do this on a daily basis. So a lot of people can do it. Maybe others do it on a weekly basis or whatever. We're doing it on a daily basis. So thumbs up, thumbs down. Stick around after today's show, and you'll see the new segment there. All right, let's start talking about these fights that took place. Abner Maris, listen, I like this kid, man. He's undefeated, 24-0. He's got a draw, one draw against Yanni Perez. He's fought some tough opposition, and he fought another tough opponent this past weekend when he beat Eric Morale. It did go the distance. The scores were 119-109 twice and 120-107. I think the two judges that scored at 119-109 just gave Morale a courtesy round. There was an early round in there where you could have given it to him, but I kind of thought Abner Maris won every single round. This is a guy that, is anyone more exciting than Abner Maris? I mean, this kid, he's an exciting fighter. He puts together combinations, which I like. He can take a shot, which I like. He listens to his corner, which I like. And you don't want to know another thing that I really admire about him, and I hope that you all recognize this. This is a guy that doesn't run out of gas. He's conditioned very well, and we need to give him credit for that. This was his first fight in the super bantamweight division, and now he's the WBC super bantamweight champion. I can't stand the WBC, but it was a vacant belt, and unlike how I think it should be when a belt is vacated, the number 1 and number 2 ranked contenders should be fighting for that belt, but instead we had Abner Maris and Morale both move up in weight to fight for this title, which, I mean, do you see any justification in that? So I don't. But as a matter of fact, Eric Morale is probably going to be moving down. He's going to be moving back down in weight on that one because of his performance. He just didn't feel as comfortable as Maris did. So good fight there. Now, the co-main event on that one, WBA Bantamweight champ, which they have him labeled as Super Bantamweight champ, is Emilio Marino. He improved to 33 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 12 of his wins coming by knockout when he made the 10th successful defense of his belt in a one-sided fight. He finally stopped David De La Mora in the 9th round. De Mora drops to 24-2. I was shocked to hear this kid's age. I thought that, because he's been around so long, and I thought that they made a mistake. But they really didn't. And 26 years old, man. I mean, this guy seems like he's been around 100 years. He has. He started as a pro at 16. On the undercard, which you got to see on Showtime Extreme, Roland Bryant upset Labrado Andrade. Andrade got stopped. It was waved off at 2 minutes and 19 seconds. Was stopped by the referee, Robert Velez. And, I think that Robert Velez should have given him the benefit of the doubt. Everybody knows how good of a chin that Labrado Andrade had, so I was a little pissed off at that. But Roland Bryant improves to 16-1 with 11 knockouts. Andrade loses for the 5th time during his career, 30 wins, 5 losses, 23 coming by knockout at this point. Luis Ramos Jr., I wasn't that impressed with this fight. I mean, Daniel Ata, has seen better days. He was down. It was kind of an iffy knockdown, but I guess he did go down, but he certainly wasn't hurt. Ramos Jr. won 22-0 now with 9 knockouts. Ata drops for his 10th loss of his career, 26-10-1 now with 9 KOs, 99-90 to the way 2 of the judges saw it, and 1 had it a shutout at 100-89. And another fight, Francisco Vargas improved to 10-0 with a draw when he stopped Rafael Laura in the 3rd round, 2 minutes and 27 seconds of the 3rd round. Laura drops to 11-8. Over on the other side of the pond, James DeGally retained his European super middleweight title by stopping Christian Savannah in the 4th round to improve to 12 wins, 1 loss, 9 of his wins coming by knockout. Christian Savannah drops to 45-6-1. The official time was 2:58 of round 4. There's a prospect in coming out of Denmark, and his name, Patrick Nielsen. He's 14-0 now with 8 knockouts when he stopped Gaston Vega in the 10th round. Vega drops to 17-5. How about Carle Balze, a guy that is starting to move up a little bit. He's the WBA super middleweight champion. He improved to 25-2 with 18 knockouts when he stopped Dmitry Sardazin, former champ, in the 12th round. Sardazin drops to 29-2 with 18 knockouts. And Balze, well, he improved to 25-2. I think I mentioned that already. The official time was 2:25 of round 12. Former WBO light heavyweight champ Jurgen Brammer, guess what? He showed up for a fight again. That makes 2 in a row now. He improved to 38-2 with 30 knockouts when he won a 10-round decision over Victor Marino, who dropped to 21-4. He was dropped in the 4th round and then went on to win the decision. There was also a cruiserweight contender, Rakim Chikayev, improved to 13-0 with 10 knockouts when he took care of Jaden Corrington, who's not the same fighter he was when he was in the contender. The fight was, he stopped Corrington at 1 minute and 54 seconds in round number 1. Wow, good one there. How about Juan Carlos Gomez? They had the rematch against the Dingaling Man. Now, Juan Carlos Gomez used to be a cruiserweight champ. He's now campaigning at heavyweight. He's about 192 years old. He improved to 50 wins, 3 losses, 38 coming by knockout when he stopped the Dingaling Man in the 4th round via a TKO. Here's the thing. Another controversial ending. Wilson dropped Gomez at the end of the 3rd round, and then the fight was waved off in the 4th due to a cut that Wilson had. What happened was Wilson won the first fight, and they were trying to get Gomez the rematch here. But anyway, also on that one, in Amenza, there's something about Amenza, not when she's fighting, but when she's out of the ring. I think she's a beautiful little woman there, and she got back on the winning ways. I think this is her second, possibly her third fight since she lost for the first time in her career. She's a former featherweight champ, and she won a 8-round decision over Doris Kohler, who dropped to 8-11 with a draw, and Amenza improved to 29-1. And in the middleweight division, Ante Bilic improved to 26-2 when he beat Rafael Bajarian, who dropped to 14-1 in a 12-round European middleweight title. In an upset, Derry Matthews, who's a journeyman fighter, 30 wins, 6 losses, and a draw right now with 16 knockouts, stopped Anthony Corolla, who was just mentioned in an email, a kid moving his way up, lost, got stopped in the 6th round, like I mentioned. It was waved off by the referee, and Corolla drops to 23-3 with 9 knockouts. Brian Vera, he's back in the W column, got another one back in the W column. He's 20-6 right now when he beat up on Tarazone Washington, who has a lopsided record, 14 wins, 17 losses, and 7 draws. Took place in Texas. And I'll tell you what, Brian Vera has a new trainer, and this may help him a lot because Ronnie Shields is known to help some fighters exactly with the style that Brian Vera has, which is like a tough man style. So we'll see if we see any improvements there. Miguel Buendia dropped Rasul Secura 3 times before the first round was finally waved off. 2 minutes and 42 seconds of round 1. Talk about an upside-down fight there, huh? Jose Cotto, which is the brother of Miguel Cotto, he won a 10-round decision over Eric Cruz to improve to 33 wins, 3 losses, and a draw, 24 come by knockout. Cruz drops at 13-9-3. It took place in Puerto Rico on Saturday night. The scores 99-89, 98-90, 97-87, all in favor of Cruz. Christian Mahares, former world champion, he improved to 45 wins, 6 losses, and a couple of draws when he stopped Eddie Julio in the 4th round via 4th round knockout at 2 minutes and 47 seconds. Julio drops at 13-4-1 with 11 knockouts. There's rumor that Mahares will be fighting my man Nonito Donaire next. And I tell you, they're also talking about Nonito Donaire possibly fighting Abner Mares next, too, which may not be a bad one. And also, the fighter that everyone... Now, there's one guy that loves Omar Navarez, and that's my man Marty Mulcahy. And a lot of people gave him all kinds of slack, not Marty, Navarez, for when he fought Nonito Donaire. And he hasn't fought since until this past weekend when he fought Jose Cabarra. And Navarez won. It was a 12-round decision to improve to 36 wins, 1 loss, and a couple of draws. And Jose Cabarra, he drops to 20 wins, 3 losses, and 2 draws. On Friday night, Jermaine Taylor. Man, was this deja vu with Jermaine Taylor? Jermaine Taylor gets dropped in the 9th round. To tell you the truth, I didn't know he was going to survive that round. Credit to Jermaine Taylor for knowing what to do when you're in trouble, man. I mean, this was a guy that was in some serious trouble, and he's managed to survive the round, the next round, and win the fight. He was dominating up until that point, and Truax just nailed him and dropped him. The way the judges saw it was 98-91, 97-92, 97-94, all in favor of Jermaine Taylor, who I think showed us all that if you connect on that X that he's got tattooed on his chin, that he goes CPs. Erslandy Lara, there's no doubt about Erslandy Lara. I mean, people knock him for starting out slow. Did not happen Friday night. Ronald Hearns, I tell you what, I give a thumbs down to the referee in that fight for not stopping that fight sooner. He should have been waved off. They let him continue too much because Ronald Hearns was in serious trouble, and I think they should have stopped that one, not letting him go on anymore. In the heavyweight division on that card, Kevin Price improved to 13-0 when he won a unanimous decision over Aaron Lyons. Julian Love improved to 11-0 when he stopped Ibrahim King in the third round. And junior middleweight Steve Martinez improved to 12-1 with 10 knockouts when he knocked out Marcus Thompson in round number 2. On Friday Night Fights, Adonis Stevenson, the Superman, takes care of his opponent, No Gonzalez, at 1 minute and 40 seconds of the second round. This kid's for real, man. Keep an eye out for him. A guy that wasn't too impressive to me was Eliter the Storm Alvarez, who improved to 8-0. He dominated Reiko Sanders, but I don't know, man. I was expecting a little more out of him. Sanders has seen better days. 80-72 the way all three of those judges saw that one. And finally, the last fight, Gunnar the Stunner Jackson, down in the land from down under, improved to 13 wins, 2 losses, and a couple of draws in the light heavyweight division when he stopped David the Iceman Letiza, who dropped to 9-3-1 in their fight that took place in Australia over the weekend. So those were the fights that took place this past weekend. We had a pretty busy fight card. So anyway, hey, what we're going to be doing right now is taking a break, and when we come back, we are scheduled to have my man Alex Pierpaoil join us, and we're going to talk about some of those fights a little bit. Hey, one thing I got to do before I go to break, I got to give credit to Gus Johnson. This is a guy that I was very, very, very critical of in his last job. And if you don't think that the Talking Boxing with Billy C radio show, makes a difference in this sport, I will tell you this. I got an email, and I am not allowed to identify my source in this particular case. But the bigwigs at Showtime saw all of the discussion that we had about Gus Johnson and told him to tone it down a bit. And if you didn't notice what a great job that Gus Johnson did, just stay tuned for our thumbs up, thumbs down coming up after this show.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C now has official merchandise available on TalkinBoxing.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. And yes, even undergarments. Talkin' Boxing apparel is the perfect gift for the boxing fan in your life. Log on to www.talkinboxing.com. That's TalkinBoxing.com and place your order today.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Hit Joe Lewis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought. Huh?
What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
As Billy C sits here in the multi-million-dollar Talkin' Boxing Studios, sipping a fine wine before you're even out of bed, you should be thinking, damn, I wish I had a mustache like his. It's the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. He's Billy C, and you're not. Sucks to be you.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
And we're back. You are listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C, a radio show, and you're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. And if you don't have the Fight Now channel on your sports channel lineup, well, then you need to give your local television provider, I don't care if it's satellite or cable, give them a call and tell them that you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup right now. Don't forget, every night is Fight Night on Fight Now. Visit their website for all the information, www.fightnow.com. And listen, don't forget about this Friday. We're going to be giving tickets away up at the Halftime Bar and Grill. So make some plans. Come on up to the Halftime Bar and Grill and hang out with us. We'll be giving stuff away. We'll be giving you some opportunities, I should say, to get some prizes and also tickets to the Raymond Serrano and Kareem Mayfield fight, which is the main event on ESPN's Friday Night Fights, May 18th. It's going to be taking place at the Albany Times-Union Center. So make sure you swing by and hang out with us up at the Halftime Bar and Grill. Maybe this guy's going to be joining us. My man, Alex Pierpaoil. What's up, man? What do you think? Today's Wednesday? What are you calling for?
Good morning, Billy C. How you doing?
Oh, I'm all jacked up today, man. All jacked up. I got a new little show starting. We're gonna be doing it right after this. It's kind of a segment, but it's after the show. We got it. It's called Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down. And for all the live listeners, stick around because it's going to be right after this show. We're going to go into that, and we'll be up on all of the other places. You can get it in a podcast. You can get it on the website, all that stuff. It's going to be basically the opinion of what was thumbs up and what was thumbs down for the previous day. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. It's going to be like your Caligula there, the Mad Empire, Emperor of Boxing.
Caligula. Well, listen to you bringing back those movies. That was like, whatever. But anyway, let's talk a little. I know you want to talk about some fights that are taking place this weekend.
Your favorite fighters.
Yeah, I know a couple of them. But before we get into that, how would you define Abner Mares' performance this past weekend?
I thought he looked really good, and you're right. I heard what you had said a few minutes ago about he's very fun to watch. He's exciting. That fight was really an entertaining one, as much as it really wasn't competitive. As much as Mares was in control, Morrell made a nice show of it. He definitely was trying. Mares didn't. He doesn't seem to have the pop, but I think some of it is just the weight class they're in. It's hard to really, flatten guys at those weight classes. A lot of the knockouts in bantamweight, junior feather, those areas, the knockouts come more by attrition than just one punch.
Right.
And I don't think Mares has that one-punch power. That's part of what made Manny Pacquiao so exciting when he made his rise through those lower divisions. But I do think that Mares is definitely going to be one of the stars of tomorrow. He's young. He's hungry. Now we've seen him against, a lot of the better guys. I mean, he emerged from the bantamweight Showtime tournament and, as the winner. And, I mean, it's kind of sad that both the bantamweight and the 168-pound divisions, we don't have a single guy, and even Mares has moved up now from that division. It didn't really crown one undisputed champ like we sort of hoped, but all that said, I think we did get to see, definitely the star of tomorrow emerge from that tournament, and that's Abner Mares.
Hold that thought, because I think that we did, and first of all, he's also the star of today because the kid is doing well, and not only that, but he's fought some tough opposition. I mean, so I give him a lot of credit. I give him more credit than most. But it's funny you say it's too bad we didn't get to crown or have a dominating fighter in the bantamweight division. But maybe we did, and maybe his name was Abner Mares. Maybe if we don't get caught up with all of these belts and try to decide who's the best one when you got 5, 6, 7 people with belts, different belts all over the place, at least the top 5. You got 5 different fighters generally with a title. maybe if we devalutize all of that pool of belts, maybe Mares did rise to the top. I mean, let's face it, he did fight arguably the best bantamweights in that tournament.
Oh yes, yeah, I agree with that. We didn't get to see, the final the crowning of an undisputed champion.
Right.
Because you still had we didn't get. Basically, what I'm talking about is Mares Donaire. We didn't get to see that, or Mares Moreno at 118. We didn't get to see that final thing, but now maybe we will see it at 122, or even higher at 126. But that's just a sort of a one of those things that the boxing fan of today has to get used to, because boxing is not like it was when we talk about it in the blast from the past, where a guy will become the champ of the division and then will defend it. Now the money is in moving up and collecting these belts, and not to knock Mares for doing that. I mean, if he's going to fight the way he did Saturday night, hey, I'll be watching so he could collect as many belts as he wants.
Yeah, no, I think he's exciting. What I like about the kid is he's always in shape. He never runs out of gas, never gives up, and you know what? He works the body. I don't know, man. I think he's. I can't wait to see him again. So
yeah, I think that was one of the. I think, like you said, he does work the body, and I think that was one of the things that we kind of had you were left with a bad taste in your mouth from last year because of the low blow festival against King Kong Agbeko, but I don't think he threw one low blow all night Saturday night. So he's certainly not an Andrew Galata who's going to be a bit of a. He's going to have problems with that. He definitely shows that he's very. What's the word? He can learn, he can adapt, and he can correct and make little adjustments to his own repertoire, and that's nice to see.
Yeah, I think one straight low, he didn't even get a warning for it, but and that first Agbeko fight was again. When does the referee get the blame? I mean, sometimes, we either get referees that over-ref or under-ref. I wish we would just find one that falls someplace in the middle, And you mentioned Moreno. I was shocked when I thought the announcers made a mistake when they said he's 26. I said, nah, he's got to be 36. But I checked. He is young. He seems to have been around forever. He seems like such a serious guy. I mean, talk about a blue-collar fighter. I think he's a great example of a blue-collar fighter. What do you think?
Yeah, I was really impressed by him. And that body shot, De La Mora deserves a lot of credit for getting up and getting himself together. And I tell you, I wondered about that when he was wandering around in his corner trying to get, breathe again, basically, was what he was doing when he because when that round ended, he was lucky. That would have been a knockout, I think, if that round didn't end when it did, because when he got up from that knockdown, he couldn't breathe.
Right.
And there was a body shot in there that was brutal, and he got himself together, and and it was interesting that Moreno couldn't hurt him again, but I give De La Mora more credit for that than I do a criticism for Moreno, because when Moreno couldn't get that opening again, he just outboxed him, and he really looks good. I mean, it's nice to see a slick guy like that, in comparison to some of the boxers we've seen recently that are do a lot more clutching and grabbing. He doesn't need to. He uses upper body movement and distance, and that's nice to see.
I was a little surprised that Moreno didn't go back after the body for such a long time. I mean, you make a great point. Maybe he didn't see an opening, but I don't know, man. It took him a whole nother round, I think, before he even went for a body shot again. And you would have to assume his corner was telling him to, you got him hurt, man. Go for that body again, and he didn't. But hey, he had a flawless performance, really. I mean, we'll see what happens with him. One other thing.
Really quick.
One other thing from this past weekend, Jermaine Taylor, was that a deja vu? Did you just sit there and say to yourself, oh, my God, when he went down and he was in trouble. I give him a lot of credit for surviving that round and then coming on and staying away in that final round. But what was your thoughts when he hit the canvas?
Oh, man, it was sad. He's damaged goods. I mean, these guys, like we talked a little bit of Eric Morales last week and, the idea of fighting Juan Manuel Marquez. And I think, when these guys get old, when they get to the point where, you have more questions about whether or not they can take a punch, I think, you don't want to stop a guy from earning a living. But it's scary. I mean, you're getting hit in the head. And quite frankly, I don't think Jermaine Taylor can take a punch anymore. When that guy, what was it, Caleb Truax? Yeah. I mean, I didn't even look at his record. I really don't know much about him. I don't know anything about him, actually, other than, what we saw on Friday night. And as soon as he landed clean, that's what happened. And there was another point earlier in the fight where he connected with a right hand where it seemed to stun Taylor. If he gets hit clean, and the level of these two guys he's fought, he just has not gotten hit clean a lot. You see what happens when he does. And to me, that's a guy who he's been knocked out too many times, and we talk about this a lot. Once you've been knocked out, there's something about the brain that it's easier to knock you out. And Jermaine Taylor is the living proof of that. I mean, it's almost like Humpty Dumpty. You can't put the pieces back together again. I worry about Jermaine Taylor because I think he's certainly looking for another big, high-profile fight to, have a payday and check out. And I don't know. I'm not sure he should even bother because it's scary when it just doesn't seem like you could, like he can take a punch. And, I mean, you could even see it in the way he was talking to Steve Farhood. To me, that was really overcompensating. He was, so glad that he made it, that he wasn't going to the hospital, that it was like overcompensating. The old phrase, whistling in the graveyard, where he was going on and on. That was not something to celebrate, He was glad he survived to hear the final bell, but, man, I worry about his future.
You're 100% right, and once you do get knocked out, you're more susceptible to the knockout. And this is why I am an advocate, and I was a little I don't know. I guess a better choice of words is I was pissed off at the guy from ABC, Tim Lukenbaugh, that Lukanoff, that said, hey, well, your idea was good. I presented my idea about when a fighter is ready to turn pro, when they go through the process of getting their federal ID, they should be mandatory, do a head scan. The reason is so that the doctors could have a scan prior to a knockout to compare one to after a knockout. I'm convinced in a fighter like Jermaine Taylor that it would clearly show some kind of abnormality because of the fact of what you just said. I mean, here's a guy that Caleb Truax, I'm not knocking his punching power or anything. He had a double-digit knockouts, but come on. I mean, he landed one flush shot on the chin in the whole night, and Taylor went down and was lucky to get up. I was recently, yesterday, as a matter of fact, I was watching an old Law and Order, and they were doing a case where it was like shaken baby syndrome or something, and one of the specialists showed an example of what happens to the brain when it gets rocked like that, and they put a raw egg, in a glass of water, and they said, this is your brain inside your skull. They said, and this is what happens, and they shake the glass, and the egg shatters, and breaks open, and they said, this is what happens to the membrane that protects your brain, and it's got to be similar in boxing.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and I hadn't seen it live when it happened, but the Adonis Stevenson, they showed a replay of a one-punch knockout. I guess he had that. I guess that was earlier this year. I don't know why I missed it.
It was
Maybe
his last fight before
when I had
the one.
no TV there for a while. But that was a perfect example of what you're saying with the egg, because if you watch that knockout, that one-punch knockout, he was unconscious before, I guess the guy's name was Jose Gonzalez, I think.
Yeah.
He was unconscious before he hit the ground, and when his head hit the canvas and it bounced off the canvas, then you saw his arms stick out in a really grotesque, it was almost like he was twitching.
Yeah.
And I really think that's what unfortunately happens a lot in boxing, is that the knockout itself is bad enough, but then that whiplash factor they get when they hit the canvas, the brain sloshes back and forth when that happens and causes all kinds of damage, exactly like you said, because it's sort of suspended with connective tissue and stuff that's holding it in a fluid. And, you know, it's going to flop back and forth inside that fluid, and that's where you get bruising and hemorrhaging, and that's, you know, the scary part.
Yeah, and yeah, well, that's the beauty of the boxing, huh? You got to take the
sport, baby.
Yeah. Well, with all that great news we just said, you know, people are going to be doing my egg test today. We got a couple of big fights going on this weekend. Before I ask you about the one you really want to talk about, what about Paulie Malignaggi, man? Paulie Malignaggi is getting a shot at a title. He's going up against I can never pronounce his first name, so I just call him V. Senchenko. It's for one of the welterweight titles. How do you think he's going to do?
I like Paulie Malignaggi. I didn't realize that fight was already because it seems like he's been talking about it for a while. He considers himself the Twitter king, and if you spend a little time on Twitter, he may be right. He tweets as fast as he punches, and I like Paulie Malignaggi. I'd like to see him stick around for a while. I don't know. Senchenko is a good up and coming guy, and I think that a win, if he would look impressive against Paulie, I think that's a nice win, and I think he probably can win, because I think Paulie's getting a little long in the tooth. As much as he's definitely a fun guy to have in the sport. Unfortunately, he's kind of become a bit of a measuring stick for the rest of the division to see how talented the other guys are by how they do against him. But as we saw Zab Judah do earlier this year, don't write off these older New Yorkers too soon.
I just hope that Paulie. The only thing I want to see slow down with Paulie is his two lips slapping together, man.
I don't think that'll ever happen.
Jesus. All right. Let's talk about the fight you want to talk about. Apparently, we have a poll. Well, I know we have a poll question up on BillyCBoxing.com. The question basically says, is B-Hop still worth the price of admission? Not even the price of a pay-per-view, but the price of admission. Overwhelming. I've never seen a poll question be so overwhelming. 100% of the listeners that voted, and no, it wasn't just me who voted once. 100% have so far picked no, that Bernard Hopkins is not worth the price of admission, contrary to what Bernard Hopkins says. Bernard Hopkins thinks that the world is just clamoring to see him. He takes on Chad Dawson, who you think is the creme de la creme of the light heavyweight division, and he's got another opportunity to prove it against Bernard Hopkins. Not that he needs to prove it against Bernard Hopkins, but let's face it, Chad, the knock that I have on Chad is that, he fought Tarver a couple of times. I mean, he just hasn't had a chance to fight a young up-and-coming light heavyweight because of whatever obligations he had. I think it's time for him to get rid of Bernard Hopkins, and then let's see how good Chad really is. What's your thoughts on that, and also, of course, the fight itself?
I think that, yes, unfortunately, Bernard Hopkins has gotten to a point in his career where he's overstayed his welcome. And it's unfortunate, especially if you're a Hopkins fan, but I can't disagree too much with people who've grown tired of him. I'm not tired of him, but I don't like what he's become, especially with the whole run up to this fight, and especially with the last the way the first Dawson fight ended. I think there is something to what Team Dawson has said, that he did possibly come into that fight with an injury, and from what I did not listen to the conference call, but from what Dax Khan and yourself were talking about last week, it sure sounds like they didn't want to entertain questions along that line, and Richard Schaefer kind of handpicked the responses and the questions in the conference call, because I think they didn't want to engage that too much. I do think that that he might have come in there with a bit of a sore shoulder, and when he was hit the canvas, he saw, this is my out. I think that Chad Dawson has a chance here to not only look really good against a Hall of Famer, but I think he has a chance to do what a lot of the people that don't like Bernard Hopkins have wanted, and that's retire him. But again, all these guys who are Hall of Famers, it's a lot easier to say it than to do it. Look at Evander Holyfield. He hasn't been beaten up really since James Toney, and it's hard to believe that he could still hang around like that. But I think Bernard Hopkins is similar in that way. These old guys, they know how to survive. I think that Chad has to do what he did last time, and that's put pressure on him, keep him punching. I think what Joe Santoliquito says about how Bernard's an 8-round fighter, I think that's true. That's all I gave him against Pascal, but that's what he needed to win. I think against Dawson, he's in there against a guy who's going to keep him fighting longer than that. And if Dawson can maintain the pressure on him, I see this as a potentially big win for Chad Dawson. I do think, from what I've read, the tickets are selling, and I think that was the big mistake the last time, is they put the fight on the West Coast. In New Jersey, you've got people from Connecticut who are willing to make the drive down there to see Chad Dawson, and you've got people from Philadelphia who are willing to come out to see Bernard Hopkins. And I think people are realizing this could be it for Bernard. So hopefully it'll be a decent crowd, and I think that the undercard is really nice. You got a all-American heavyweight fight, which we don't see very often these days. And, with a potential star there with Seth Mitchell. And I'm very happy that it's on regular HBO.
Well, first of all, Richard Schaefer with the, with his antics in that conference call, I just think that was a case of Golden Boy trying to make this fight appear, ripping a page out of Don King's promotional strategies. They're making this fight appear that it's in demand, and by handpicking the responses and making it like Bernard is the guy that everybody wants to see, I think that was their thought process. I think they also know that the time is on. He's borrowing time. Bernard is borrowing time. He's battling father time, number one, and Chad Dawson has a great opportunity. And in my opinion, he needs, and I'll say it again, he needs to have a career performance against Bernard Hopkins when they fight this weekend, because not only will it finally, I don't think Chad Dawson really has ever arrived. I think that he's been teetering, and some people think that he was the best. Some people think he had arrived. Some people say that he was the best light heavyweight. But you know what? He never really did, in my opinion, and I think he's got an opportunity. Not that he's fighting the toughest guy, but, I think he's got an opportunity to arrive if he really beats up Bernard Hopkins bad. And he needs to do that, because Bernard will admit, he will sing that he won the fight and he was robbed and didn't get the recognition, and he'll cry like a little girl if he doesn't win that fight. He has to be knocked out in order to shut him up. He has said that in the past. He has said that I'm not going to retire from boxing till somebody whoops my ass, and that means knock him out. And I think Chad needs to do that. What do you think?
I think it's going to be very hard to knock him out
Why?
because he is so crafty and he does have an amazing chin. But we have seen him hurt. I think Pascal was able to hurt him, especially in the first fight. He wasn't able to hurt him in the second, but there was a few moments in the first one where Pascal did hurt him. I think you're right. It would certainly be nice to see a knockout as well. I would think that if Chad outclasses him and dominates him by unanimous decision, that would be enough. In terms of in the mind of the sport and in the mind of most fans, I think the real diehard Bernard Hopkins fans might still believe him at the end. I think that even if he does get outclassed, he is going to say, it was a close fight, whatever. The kid couldn't knock me out. That's Bernard. But I do think that you're right. I think that Chad knows that he needs to look sensational. I think John Scully knows it too. I think, in a way, this is really the opportunity that he's been waiting for. Unfortunately, the last one ended the way it did. I just hope that we get a satisfactory ending to this one. And because with Bernard Hopkins, there's always potential for some rough stuff. And I think that was the good thing in my mind last time, was that Chad Dawson showed right from the early on that if you're going to get rough, I'm going to get rough right back. So I think there's still potential for that. Who knows what's going to happen? And like Marlon Starling says, you never know what's going to happen when a fight breaks out. If a fight breaks out, I think you got to go with the basics of genetics. And genetically, Chad Dawson has the advantages over Bernard Hopkins, both in youth, in height, in the long punches. Chad puts a beautiful angle on a guy, and all those things are going to be very difficult for a 47-year-old man to deal with if a fight breaks out.
We got to go, but I got two quick questions. First of all, when I think of Bernard Hopkins, maybe I'm in the minority, but I think he's overrated. Now, don't get me wrong. I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer, and I think he deserves to be a Hall of Famer. I think that he'll be considered when it's all said and done, an all-time great, and I think that he deserves to be considered as an all-time great. However, I don't think it's because of his boxing skill. I think it's more because of his longevity. I think that Jean Pascal did it best when he mimicked the way Bernard Hopkins fought in that press conference or whatever he did when he puts his head down and wails away, because that's how I see Bernard Hopkins fighting. Throughout his career, he's never really, with the exception of the Kelly Pavlik performance, he just never really impressed me at all. So that's my thought with him. But my main question to you is, who do you think is going to have more fans in Atlantic City? Do you think Bernard is going to be drawing more, or do you think Chad is going to draw more?
I think probably Bernard is drawing more. But I think that, you do have that Al Bummy Davis syndrome, where some of the people that are going in hopes of seeing this will be the last time for Bernard, and they want to see him go out on his shield. Whether you like him or hate him, I think it is probably Bernard Hopkins that's driving ticket sales at this point. Because he is a Hall of Famer. I mean, I think everybody can agree on that, and I think that nowadays that sometimes is a little rarer than it used to be. And so people, I think, if you're a fan of boxing, you're going to want to be there. And I think that was the big mistake last time, that the fight was put where it was. And the fact that it's in Atlantic City now, I think, is really good. But I do think that it's a crowd that Chad can win over if he looks good.
I think that what Joe Santoliquito rings in my ear, he says, Bernard Hopkins, and it was the same thing with Steve Cunningham. They're both from Philly. No one cares about him in Philly. And I still believe that Bernard Hopkins, truthfully, can't draw flies at a garbage convention. I predict right now that Chad Dawson will have more fans in attendance in Atlantic City than B-Hop. So we'll have to wait and see this weekend. Great job, Alex. Glad you could stop by. I know we're going to do that blast next week. We got a bunch in the queue, right? So
we got 3 guys in the queue.
Yeah, we're booked. So not counting the one we have now. So we got this one plus that other guy that somebody asked us for that we both were like, huh? Who? but anyway, Alex.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that guy.
And I'm hopefully I'll find that other stuff you asked me for.
Okay.
Man, you're right. I do need a secretary, but I prefer a really hot one. All right, not
that's
the one.
Why I said not a hot one because when you have a hot secretary, you can't get any work done.
This is true, but can I try? Can I have one? Come on,
That's
man.
right. I mean, with a hot secretary, it's fun going to work.
Right. Why are you thinking of yourself all the time? Come on, man. Alex, great job. I'll talk to you later.
Take care, Billy C.
All right, that's my main man, Alex Pierpaoil, and I got to take a break. When I come back, I got a bunch more boxing news to talk about. We got some articles I want to direct you to, and I'm going to remind you again about a new segment / show that we're going to be doing. So if you're listening and watching live today, make sure you stick around for thumbs up, thumbs down.
The 2012 Summer Olympic Games unfold in 5 months in London. The honor and the history of playing host goes back a long way. How long? That's next on Sports Shorts with me, the Sports Princess.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Stouffer's, helping bring your family together with wholesome dinner options, even on the busiest of nights. Find dinner table ideas to bring your family together at letsfixdinner.com. To get kids involved in dinnertime conversation, ask specific questions, not broad ones. Instead of what happened today at school, try what was the best thing that happened today. The more specific you are, the more they'll have to say. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
Legend has it that the Olympics go back to Hercules, but let's leave Greek mythology out of it. The modern games opened in 1896. Since Athens couldn't afford to put them on, a businessman ponied up the coin. Pole vaulting, weightlifting, shot put, and swimming, few of the handful of events. Since those days, some of the original sports remain. Others come and go, depending on the whims of the International Olympic Committee. Australia, France, Germany, and China have hosted summer games, and this will be the 3rd time for London. As for the winter games, the U.S. has hosted them 4 times since they started in 1924 in France, featuring sports like alpine cross-country skiing, figure skating, and such. Between the summer and the winter games, there are hundreds of sports and thousands of athletes. You never know what city is going to get a crack at hosting next. I'm the Sports Princess with Sports Shorts.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the #1 show in the country, Talking Boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
St. Jimmy's coming down across the alleyway. Up on the boulevard like a zip gun on parade. Lights on the silhouette. He's in some buttonette. Coming at you on the count of 1.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C radio show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. And if you don't have Fight Now on your sports channel lineup, then you need to call your local television provider and tell them that you want Fight Now right now. It's that simple. Pick up the phone and tell them that you want it. Don't forget, every night is Fight Night on Fight Now, 10 p.m. Eastern. New fight is shown. So check out their website for all the information, www.fightnow.com. We have a new segment on the show, or I should say it's going to be kind of a new little mini show. It's called Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down, and what it is going to be is every single day we're going to give thumbs up and thumbs down for what took place the day before in the sport of boxing. Now, some days it can go for a couple of minutes. Some days it can go as long as 15 minutes, depending upon how many good or bad things, in my opinion, has happened in the sport. So make sure you tune in for that. If you're a live viewer or listener, make sure you stick around. It'll be taking place immediately after this show. If not, you want listening on a podcast or you're watching a replay, check it out wherever you see in the show. for the thumbs up, thumbs down. It's Billy C's thumbs up, thumbs down. It will be available on BillyCBoxing.com. It'll be on part of the right menu side. So where you see all the columns, where we have our columns and all of that stuff, you'll see Billy C's thumbs up, thumbs down. You click that, and you'll get the most recent thumbs up, thumbs down episode. Speaking of writers, check out a couple of pieces that are up on the site right now. For Magladeno and Lenk, the road goes through Pomona. That's by Austin Killeen. It's his newest story about a couple of young fighters, so check that one out. Joe the Future Hanks spends some time in the green room. That's Amy Green's room, so check that one out. She did a piece on Joe the Future Hanks. Some boxing news. I don't know if you caught this, but over the weekend it was announced that Ozzie Harris, I should say, took a plea deal. Now, if you don't know who this guy was, remember, this was the guy who was convicted, or he took the plea deal here. He was arrested for shooting at the two guys outside that skating rink in Las Vegas. You know, the one where he was friends with Floyd, and you know, the speculation is that Floyd paid him to just keep his mouth shut and everything else. Well, he took a deal, and it looks like the maximum is 18 years in prison. But here's what it means, man. Ozzie Harris decided to keep his mouth shut. He was paid, and this is my opinion, Floyd Mayweather's team paid him off. This guy is 29 years old. A maximum sentence with his plea deal was 18 years in jail. What that means is he's going to be up for parole most likely within 7. And chances are this guy's going to be out on the streets in 7 years. He's 29 years old. All right. You know, to give up 7 years to have $2 million in your bank when you come out, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm 50. You know, and at 57 to come home to $2 million, you know what I'm saying? So take it for what it's worth. Manny Pacquiao. What can we say about Manny? Well, we could say a lot of stuff, but I will tell you this. Conflicting reports are coming out of his camp. Now, one of the reports was that Manny Pacquiao started off with a really good camp. You know, they're saying that his power and speed and movement has all improved since his last fight, which we're all hoping for as he prepares for Timothy Bradley on June 9th. However, there was a report over the weekend that one of his conditioning coaches, the conditioning coach, whose name is Alex Araza, apparently left the camp of Manny Pacquiao before Freddie Roach arrived in the Philippines to wrap up their Filipino portion of the training camp, so he could go work with Chavez Jr., which is really pissed off Freddie Roach. You know, I wonder what the deal is with that. Why would a guy like Araza, whatever, bail on Manny Pacquiao to train Chavez Jr.? Now, they're not saying that there's any problems between the two. They're not saying that there's any problems between him and anyone else in the camp. But it seems kind of strange to me. I mean, listen, maybe Chavez needs him more. Maybe the king of Top Rank, Bob Arum, instructed him to do so. Maybe he's an employee of Top Rank. I do not know. But I do know one thing. If he works on a percentage, you would think that he would make more working with Manny Pacquiao than he would with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Ranked at number 8 by the WBC in the featherweight division, Javier Fortuna, who's 18-0 with 13 knockouts. He's going to be returning to the ring April 27th when he takes on Yondale Evans, who's another up-and-coming fighter. This is going to be the co-feature on Friday Night Fights, which is going to be Roy Jones Jr.'s Square Rings promotions. I think this might be, now maybe I'm mistaken. You know what? I was going to say, I think this is Roy's Square Ring Promotions' first time on ESPN Friday Night Fights, but I think I could be wrong. They announced that Delvin Rodriguez is going to be fighting Austin No Doubt Trout on June 2nd in California. You know, listen, Austin Trout is a good fighter. There's no question about it. Our own Austin Killeen did a nice story on Austin Trout. If you want to check it out, look under his column on BillyCBoxing.com. But, you know, here's my problem. You know, Delvin Rodriguez had just moved up to the he went from welterweight division to the super welterweight or junior middleweight division, and now he's immediately getting a shot with No Doubt Trout after his two fights against who's the kid, Paulie Warlock. You know, I think this is going to be an interesting fight because Austin Trout, you know, maybe he could beat Austin Trout. You know, Austin Trout didn't look that great in his last fight, if I recall correctly. But then again, I get Trout and Tavorius Cloud always mixed up. And speaking of Tavorius Cloud, that fight where Jean Pascal has just been made official. They don't know the date. It's either going to be on July 7th or August 11th. Stay tuned for that one. But we do know one thing. It's going to be on Showtime. And I like that fight. I like that one. That's a good one. I like the Delvin and Austin Trout fight, too. The Austin Trout-Delvin Rodriguez fight is actually going to be on the undercard of Antonio Tarver and Latif Coyote and Winky Wright against Peter Quinlan. You know, I think that the Delvin Rodriguez and Austin Trout fight is actually the most... I think it's the most interesting fight on that card. Winky Wright, you know, I loved Winky Wright 3 years ago when he was part of the boxing landscape. I mean, today he's just a name, So and he fights a Kid Chocolate who arguably hasn't really fought anyone yet. He's got a couple of names on his resume, but this will be a good test for him. But it has the makings of a really snooze fest because of the style in which Winky Wright brings. Plus, he's so old. So I don't know how great of a fight that is. I do have some advice for Kid Chocolate. Stay away from the chocolate, man. Did you see him, with donning his missing tooth? Maybe he should stay away from the chocolate. It probably rotted out that tooth. I suggest one thing. If you know that you're going to be on TV and you know the camera's going to be focusing on you, maybe put your tooth in for that one. He looked... I don't know, man. Maybe somebody likes that look. I think the only fighter in the history of the sport that actually was known for missing his teeth was Leon Spinks. And if I'm Kid Chocolate, I have my tooth in my head when the cameras are on me. And I just got to be honest when I talk about the main event, Antonio Tarver against Latif Coyote. I think Antonio Tarver does a fantastic job on Showtime. But when it comes to his boxing ability, even in his prime, which, when was that? His fight, his Roy Jones Jr. fight or whatever, I don't think he was ever anything. I never think, don't even think that this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer. I just don't even think he's in the upper echelon of fighters, and the way that they treat him is like he's an all-time great, and the way he treats himself is like he's an all-time great. Now he is matched with a very beatable opponent in Latif Coyote. But the thing is that all Latif's got to do is connect a couple of shots, and Antonio Tarver not only could get knocked out, but could get knocked out of his career. So, Jason Escalera and Nick Brunson, which is not a bad matchup. Well, it was just announced last week, actually, on late Friday, that they are going to be the co-main event for Raymond Serrano and Kareem Mayfield when they headline ESPN Friday Night Fights on May 18th. This is being put on by Star Boxing, and we want you guys to come on up to the Halftime Bar and Grill. I heard Alex Papali is going to be there this Friday too, and between him and Dax and me and whoever else, David Allen is coming. I see Tony Treem is coming. David Murphy. We have all these guys. Nah, none of them are coming. None of them are coming, especially that David Allen. But maybe Alex will. But come on up to the Halftime Bar and Grill this Friday, so we can give you a shot at winning some tickets to that event, which is May 18th at the Times Union Center. Hey, they announced over the weekend And stay tuned because I'm going to be calling the action on the television broadcast of The Reckoning. Now, what's The Reckoning? Well, it's the rematch between Anne-Sophie Mathis and Holly Holm. It's going to be coming at us from Albuquerque. And I can't wait to get back out there, man. They're going to have a press conference on tomorrow, on Tuesday, the 24th, at the Route 66 Casino in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I hope that this fight. I just can't wait. It's scheduled for June 23rd. Is it? Oh no, I'm sorry, June 15th. And I'm looking forward to this rematch. And I hope that you guys tune in because it's going to be a good one. And I'll keep you posted on all that news as it comes out. Now, speaking of today, there's an open workout. Lucian Bute will be working out in West Palm Beach, Florida. So if you're around that area, it's going to be located at the Palm Beach Boxing Facility, which is located on 1611, that's 1611 North Military Trail in West Palm Beach in Florida. So if you're looking to meet and check out an open workout from Lucian Bute, make sure you show up at 1611 North Military Trail in West Palm Beach, Florida today at noon, because that's when it's going to start. That's actually, I'm wrong. The workout starts at 9 a.m., so you better get over there now. I don't know why I said noon. They are having a press conference today at noon in California to officially announce the Tarver and Latif Coyote fight. That's going to be taking place at the JW Marriott L.A., which is across the street, or next door to the Staples Center. Off of 900 West Olympic Boulevard. It's going to be in the Georgia rooms 1 and 2. So if you're thinking about crashing that, knock yourself out. It was announced that Ivan Morales and Edgar Martinez, they're going to be fighting April 23rd, which is today, and it's going to be for the vacant WBC Youth Super Flyweight title. So we'll be giving you coverage on that one tomorrow. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Eddie Chambers. Now, Eddie Chambers is going to be taking on Tomas Adamek, and the fight's going to be June 16th in New Jersey, in Newark, New Jersey. Now, I've been pretty critical of Eddie Chambers lately. And the reason why is because he don't fight nobody. That's why. And I think that, as a person, he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. But I think that, Alex was talking about damaged goods earlier. And I think that poor Eddie Chambers might be damaged goods after his knockout at the hands of Vlad Klitschko last year. And, I think that it was evident when he backed out of his fight. I think he's looking for a money fight to call it a day. He's just not getting that opportunity. And now he's signed to fight Tomas Adamek. Now, I don't know what kind of financial deals they made. I don't know who's making what for that fight. I do know that it's on the NBC Sports Network and blah, blah, blah. But I found it kind of sad. That Eddie Chambers went out in public, at the press conference. He tweeted it, he Facebooked it, he did all the social media, and he's begging. He's literally begging his fans for support. And he said, and I quote, "I know Tomas is going to have a lot of fans coming to support him, so please come out and support me." Now, he's talking about his Philly fans, his Philly followers, to come to New Jersey at the Prudential Center on June 16th. I think that says it all, man. I think that he's become a non-factor, really, in the heavyweight division. I really believe that, and it's kind of a shame. One thing that I also wanted to mention, which is also kind of a shame, is Adrian Bronner. That's right. He's scheduled to fight Gary Sykes. Now, we got an email from a listener. This was approved not only by HBO, but by his sanctioning body, which I believe is the WBO. And, Gary Sykes, he has a decent record. 20 wins, 2 losses, and 5 coming by knockout. And he's only 28 years old. And they had a choice, apparently. Adrian Bronner were looking at Gary Sykes or Monty Meza-Clay. Now, Monty Meza-Clay, he's not a bad fighter. 32 wins, 3 losses, and 21 knockouts. I say to myself, what is HBO looking for these days? And it's clear to me that they look for wins versus losses. Now, if it were me, and I had to make this decision based on level of opposition, despite losing 3 times compared to 2 times, I would have picked Clay because Monty Meza-Clay has 32 wins, only 3 losses, but he's got more knockouts than Gary Sykes has wins. So I think that would have been a much better fight, in my opinion. But we'll have to see. HBO is looking to get them, and like I said, I just think that the emphasis with these networks really is on the O's or the amount of losses that they have, and I think it's a shame because I think we're the ones that get hurt on that one. And I want to comment on my man Alex. He's in the chat room right now. He's saying about Bute training early. I tell you, this guy's training regimen. I got to see a whole, video, the collage that the team Bute put together. I was with the camp last year when Bute fought up in Montreal when he knocked out one of those slugs they brought to him. And I got the team showed us a training video, and his day starts at like 5 a.m. I think he's starting a little late today just for the PR, but he does a routine that is very unorthodox now in the state of Florida. He does a lot of these drills that are pretty interesting that you would see more on like a football field. And he does some work with these big, heavy fire hoses. And it's amazing that the technology is all based on work in specific parts of his body, but the tools at which he's using to utilize that technology is old-fashioned stuff. Like in other words, when I always say Evander Holyfield should get the credit for, getting people into the new modern techniques. He was one of the first guys to take advantage of nutrition and specific weight training to put weight in certain areas on his body. So he built up the weight right when he went really into the heavyweight division back in the day. But now you're seeing those same areas of the body being worked on, but they're instead of using like the Nautilus type gyms and stuff that Evander used back in when he was doing this 20 years ago. Some of these new trainers, some of these new conditioning guys are taking that same process, that same thought process, and they're introducing older methods. So it's like a combination of old methods like flipping the big tire over or running with rocks and logs in your hands and all of this stuff. Well, that's kind of some of the stuff that Bute's doing, but he's doing it a little differently than Rocky Marciano used to, and it was pretty amazing to watch this video of him. And he ends his day sitting out by the pool, man. He spends a lot of time in the pool in Florida, swimming and sunning and, all of this stuff. But there is one thing, out of all of that, with Lucien Bute, and with all the girls, they just love this guy. They're always flocking all over him and stuff. But you want to know something? I don't know about you, but I've never seen him with a girl. I've never seen him. I actually, we do have a photograph of him with 2 girls, but they were ring card girls, and they were getting ready to lead him into an entrance, outside the ring. No one's ever seen him with anyone. No one, not a female, no one. And I think that it's contributed to the fact that he's able to really keep his private life private. And I guess that's a good thing, right? I mean, we don't want that. We don't want people into your private life when you're a guy like Lucien Bute. Hey, just a reminder, scheduled to join us later this week. If you're just joining us late, You fast-forwarded the beginning part of the show. Snooki, that's right, the reality TV star, Snooki. She's going to be joining us. Now, we're not going to talk about her reality shows because I know nothing about them. I've never watched them in my life, so I wouldn't even know. But the reason why she's coming on the show is because she's a boxing promoter now, and she's promoting a show in Poughkeepsie, New York, where I used to have a gym. And we're going to be talking to her about why she got into boxing and all that stuff. She's scheduled to be on the show later this week. Now, just a programming note, we will not be doing a live show on Wednesday, but all the Fight Now viewers and as well as the radio stations, you will all have a show, so don't worry. The only people that are not going to get a show are the live viewers and listeners and the podcasters. So I just wanted to give everybody a reminder on that. And one more thing, if you're watching or listening live, stick around because we're going to introduce a new segment / show. It's called Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down, and it's going to be taking place immediately after this show. So make sure you stick around for that. But for now,
wake up. It's time for the It's Too Early for a Trivia Question.
All right, and it is time for It's Too Early for a Trivia Question, and it's the same one that's floating around, man. And I wish somebody would get this one right. I'm only going to give it another couple of days, and we'll put it on the back burner and whip out another one that you guys haven't gotten right. But what's on the line is The Holyfield Way, and it's a book courtesy of PrizeFightingBooks.com. We have several of these books in stock. We have several of these books ready to go. And this copy could be yours if you know this answer. And the question is, who won the most fights from 1930 through 1939? Who won the most fights from 1930 to 1939? And I forgot to tell you that today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question is being sponsored by Star Boxing and their Times Union May 18th event, which is going to be ESPN Boxing Night. It's the main event is Raymond Serrano against Kareem Mayfield. We're giving tickets away this Friday at the Halftime Bar and Grill. Who won the most fights between 1930 and 1939? If you know that answer, email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. Who won the most fights between 1930? No. Who had the most fights? Not one. I keep saying that. Let me refresh. Let me make sure you guys understand it. It's not who won the most fights. It's who had the most fights between 1930 and 1939. If you know that answer, email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing.com. That's TalkinBoxing.com.
This day in boxing history.
And finally, this day in boxing history is being brought to us by Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you're looking for a lawyer, you might as well use the ones that keep me out of trouble, and that's Campanaro and Tomkovich. Give them a call, 845-221-4099. That's 845-221-4099, and tell them Billy C sent you, and that I'm going to pick up the consultation fee. On this day, April 23rd, 1907. That was the year my grandfather was born. Mike Twin Sullivan wins a 20-round decision over Honey Melody to win the California World Welterweight title, and that took place on this day, April 23rd, in 1907, in Los Angeles, California. That concludes our show for today, but there's one more thing I got to tell you. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning, same bat time, same bat channel. There's only one channel, the Fight Now channel. Call your local television provider right now and tell them that you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup. It's that simple. Pick up the phone and call them. For all the information about the channel, you can find it on their website, www.fightnow.com. See you all tomorrow. Ciao, baby.